The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hi there, it's Christine J Hart, and it's the Valkyries for Revolution Radio tonight, Thursday night in London town. And the weather is absolutely nonsense. It's grey and awful. There's not a shred of sun, and it's just about to be July, so we're just about to hit high summer, and it's grey and miserable. So I think we'll probably suffer through August with this, but never mind. I've got a good show for you tonight. Hopefully, I've got Miles Johnston coming on as a guest, so I'm going to try and add him, because I don't normally add Miles before the studio, because he comes on and I'm like, please be quiet, Miles, and please mute your microphone. And he doesn't really get that, and he talks over the adverts, and it's all very. Then I start getting really cross. So instead of me getting cross, I'll ring him now. He should be in. The phone's dialing, so hopefully he'll pick up. He's not picking up. Gosh, you're so annoying. I rang him. I was stuck in my horrible little London village, and there was really bad traffic. So I was just driving from where I am. I'm in a place called Kensington. I don't know if anybody's heard of it out there in the States, but it's a sort of twee little place, and it's quite central, but the traffic is bad along the little streets. So I rang him about a quarter of an hour ago, and he said, yeah, I'm here. I'm just having my supper. So I said, fine. And I then had to park my car, and I parked my car in a little, in the front of a friend's house. And then, because it's free parking, and then I sort of had to run to the house. And so it's quite a long way. And so I spoke to him, and he said he's all ready to come on the show, and he's not there. Wow, it's so annoying. He's not answering. I can't believe he's done that to me. I'm going to try him again. I'll try him again in a minute. But yeah, okay. So there's not that much going on with me at the moment. I was on the Terry Joyce show last night, and that was really late. It was from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm quite exhausted today, actually. And we were talking about shamanism. We were talking about the astral plane, and so that's how that went on. It's quite a good show. Try and get it. It's on Terry's YouTube, I believe. So try and tune into that if you can. Wow, it's so annoying. He's not actually answering his phone. I'm going to have to ring him on my mobile. So if you can bear with me, folks, while I actually go and see if I can ring him elsewhere. 1 second. Right, I'm back, and I'm awfully sorry about that, but God, I'm so glad I remembered to mute the mic, because I did actually swear. So, 1 second. Oh, gosh. So annoying. Okay. I rushed home to do the show, so I'm going to ring him now on the mobile. Mobile's ringing here. Hi, Miles.
Hello?
You're not picking up your... I know, but I'm on air now and everybody's waiting for you. You don't care? Oh. Right. Charming. That's Miles. He's nice, really. He's just a bit moody. Okay. Yeah, he's going to come on, hopefully. Did you hear that shouting at me? He does it a lot. Okay. I'm glad everyone heard that. So, yeah. Miles is like, okay, he will probably be on later. I think he had his mouth full, so he was probably chewing his supper. I would like to go and eat my supper. I went shopping after I did the school run. My son needed to get something, so we went drove for miles, and then we came back. And so I haven't had time to cook, haven't had time to tidy, and I've got all that going on. And I actually haven't got anything to share because I rather shared last night. So I don't know why I'm doing the show because I haven't got anything to share. I'm trying to think about what's going on for me at the moment. What's going on for me at the moment is my brother. Hopefully, the sale of the house is going through. It seems to be going okay. I can't quite believe that it's going okay. But as I did share before, I did that. A friend of mine told me to do the Ask the Astral question. And so I did. And a few of you I know I've shared before what happened, that I went lucid on the astral and I asked what's really going on with the house. And then I spoke to one of the cult, the astro is divided up into cults, and one of the cult leaders, because my parents were members of the cult, the Vatican cult, actually, and so they had said that it was on lockdown, it was on energy lockdown, because I was going to fight the will, because my brother and I have only been left a really, really tiny amount, and the rest has gone to the Catholic Church and the orphanage where we came from, and priests and blah, 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 this organization, and it's all the Vatican. And I was basically going to challenge that because I didn't think it was right. But basically the threat was that not to challenge it, and then the energy would be lifted. And hello?
Oh, hello.
Oh, Miles. Hi.
You heard the squeak of the microphone coming over.
Yeah. I was just sharing my listeners about what happened with my brother and selling the house, and how I asked the astral plane to, I shouted it on the astral plane to give me the answers to what was going on. And basically it was on an energy lockdown because I was fighting the money left to the one of the cults, the Vatican cult.
Which Vatican cult?
Well, it's the Jesuit Vatican cult, because my mother, adopted mother, had left the money to basically the Claretian Fathers and the orphanage where we came from. So it was all given to them, basically. And they told me that it was on lockdown, and only if I made a vow not to fight it would it be lifted and the sale would go ahead and I would at least get something. So that's what I did. And it was odd because I woke up next morning and the energy had completely changed on it, you know?
In what way did the energy change on it?
Well, I could feel that the sale wasn't going to go ahead. It was very frustrating for me, being someone that feels that energy and sort of, you know, that kind of looks down timelines and that kind of thing. And I couldn't see it happening. And as soon as I gave that promise, I could just... I saw it going through, and it has gone through quite smoothly, actually. It's almost unreal the way it's going through. I mean, I could turn around and say, well, that was demon activity, and I'm just going to ignore that and go ahead and fight them at the end of the day. But I'm not going to. I have to trust my own senses, you know?
But isn't that what you're being taught at the moment anyway?
What do you mean?
I mean, this is your whole path. Your little girl lost no money on the street, playing the victim. Yeah, if you manifest and you do that, things change.
Manifest what?
Well, the money or the requirement of the house to proceed.
That's not manifesting, though. Isn't manifesting where you chant and say?
Just change things.
What?
You've done
What?
something. You've used your intention to change something.
Well, I was kind of more or less blackmailed in some kind of way, if you think about it.
Well, insofar as you had to get off your "I'm a victim" arse and actually do something, maybe that's not really called blackmailing, is it? It's called, you know.
No, I suppose so, but I could have fought them. But basically, they saying it's their money, but I could treat that as, oh, well, that was probably just some kind of demonic kind of, you know, whatever, that a demonic thought process that they sucked me into, and I should go ahead and fight the Catholic Church anyway. But I don't know. That would probably
Well,
be
you're not
really.
fighting the Catholic Church. You're fighting the Nephilim and the various demonic entities that they've allied with themselves with.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see. It's not worth it, is it, really?
Well, maybe you need to explain why you were in that situation to start with.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if you were, I mean, what agreements have happened with your mother and you being, you know, an adopted child? Have you not found out all about that yet?
No, I don't know. I think they basically made me. That's what I suppose through talking to different people, that is what seems to be coming up, that I was sort of, made sort of test tube rather than having parents.
Well, do you know that, or are you just surmising that because that gives you a more, makes you sort of feel, well, I'm actually one of them, I'm the super soldier and all that.
Oh no, I don't give a damn about that. No, no, because they wheeled out parents that weren't my ethnicity, as they say. I can't say that word, but I think I've managed to say it. Ethnicity. They were.
Your parents are not of your blood group.
Yes, 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 yes. Or colouring. But they might I might be someone else's. Maybe a priest. God knows they're up to it. So.
But you could imagine the moon. Have you not thought of talking to somebody like Miriam Yance who could do a past life regression thing and find out exactly where you came from?
No, I haven't thought of doing that. I didn't know she does do that.
She does all that. She can trace a whole lot of things back. But anyway, your friend Aquino was targeting Gabe Cruz, a basis witness. Gabe Cruz is a former cell phone tower engineer, builder, maintainer.
He's not my friend, Miles.
Well, it took you quite a while to respond to that little thing. So.
I was going to let it go, and then I remember we're on the radio. I was just going to let it go. I can't be bothered. And then I thought we're on the radio, and there are some people. Oh, do you think she didn't deny that one? He's not my friend, is he? He was going to even come on the show. There was so much fuss that.
Well, it turns out that he was giving Gabe Cruz one heck of a hard time, even to the extent of almost being in 3D. And we're trying to get Gabe to. Come over from Portland in the United States to Pusey in August the 12th, because we're having a huge targeted individual event with Magnus Olsson, who is the chief manager of the UCASH, that's the European Committee Against Abuse of Covert Technology. And that is a massive a thing to happen, that we're having this major targeted individual night in Pusey, first night of the Basis 2016 conference, and to have him come over is a major plus. I mean, I met Magnus in Warsaw when he spoke at the TI event in Warsaw about a month and a half ago with Kieran Lee Perrin. Kieran is one of the British TIs and has got a head full of implants and has been pushing this for quite a while. And Kieran is actually organising the TI event in Pusey, and you can get tickets at the Basis Project the basisproject.org website. And that's about 40 quid for the day, for the evening, and
so
there
expensive.
It is. Pardon?
It's so expensive, isn't it?
Expensive.
A little bit.
Well, flying people over for $1,000 and putting 4 or 5 grand's worth of hotels and, halls, it costs about 10 grand to put on a conference. But then everybody wants everything for free.
I think people were upset that you weren't going to show it on YouTube after.
Yeah, because they can just sit back and watch it for nothing. And I've had it doing that. People, my work's been taken by other individuals. YouTube marked my numbers down very heavily. I mean, I have a lecture with Timothy Good, which I recorded for UFO Truth magazine, Gary Heseltine's UFO Truth magazine. I made an edit for him for that for nothing, and brought all my kit up there and set it up and got nothing. Anyway, I'm not complaining about that, but I put that out by mistake on one of my other YouTube channels, which is a very little used channel, and it's got over 128,000 hits with no publicity, no mention of it actually at all. But on my YouTube's, at my main YouTube site that's got all my basis stuff on it, it's got about 5,000 hits. So that's, when the numbers, the actual numbers can be like a factor of 20 or 100, if not 1,000 more than YouTube it's selling. I mean, a lot of people are aware of YouTube's dubious number counting, and I mean, they're probably one of the most amount counted down one is the one on 9/11. Dr. Judy Wood. If you look at any of Dr. Judy Wood's interviews on YouTube, they are almost in single figures. Some of them are only maybe 100 or maybe 200 max, when really they should be like tens of thousands, if not millions, because what she's come up with on 9/11 is really what happened. The energy weapon, which took those buildings down, and all the evidence for the aluminium blocks of engine blocks turning to dust in car parks, stuff like that. But I digress. Anyway. We're going to have a fantastic conference, and there's another person speaking at my conference. It's Christine Joanne Hart. Joanna Hart should be. And what are you going to speak at the Basis 2016 conference?
Do you know? I don't know. I was going to talk about my life, but then I thought, well, they've heard all that, so I can't do that. I don't know.
Well, we don't want the. I mean, we can always just keep people in bed. And give them and say, don't bother turning up for Christine's lecture. You're going to be bored out of your heads. I mean, I can always put you immediately before anybody comes in.
Oh, that's mean.
Doors open at 8:30, and you can be on from 7 till 8:30.
I'm on really early. There'll be nobody there. I know there'll be nobody there, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, obviously, with this really great amount of self-publicity on your own radio show going across the world, and of course, coast to coast, the United States, you're giving everybody a really good sort of feeling that they really want to be there and see Christine's lecture that she can't be bothered turning up for.
Oh no, I'm going to turn up. I'm going to.
You're going to turn up. That would be good. That's always good if you're going to deliver a lecture, Christine.
Yeah, I'm quite good at public speaking. I do enjoy it, actually.
I don't know. I mean, judging by the quality of your radio shows, I don't know about that.
Tajinder said you were in a bad mood. He's just texted me. Mars is in a bad mood today.
I'm not in a bad mood. I mean, I know. It's because we're on the wireless. I'm in a take no prisoners mode today. I can be really nasty, I
know you've got two sides to you.
I've got two sides.
Perhaps you're a monarch. Perhaps one of the mean sides has got a demon attached.
Well, I'm Aries. I've got red hair. and I'm Irish. There's no cause of concern there, in terms of don't mess with Miles.
Did you see that trailer for that new film, The Fifth Wave? It's quite good because she says. First they tried to destroy us, then they sent the airborne viruses, and then the fifth wave, something is, and then they host on us, but actually they're already here. It's quite interesting.
Well, that's what those parasitic entities. I mean, I'm getting really seriously alarming stuff out of Ireland from individuals there about how it's called being droned, and certain major members of a certain Irish band have been droned, apparently. And it involves a creature which they place, which gets into your brain through the left eye, and
Ugh.
then it takes full control, and you are de facto dead. But it will operate. This creature will then operate you as a so-called human, and it will use your personality traits to mask. Basically, you're droned, and the police in Ireland are actually warning certain individuals, we're going to drone you. So that's nice. Put one of these parasites inside you.
That's horrible. I got threatened one time when I was releasing all that MI6 stuff and naming names. And
I
again,
can't
it's in
see
the
how
astral, but
anybody would
I
want to
got the
threaten you.
threat that if I didn't stop, then they'd just take me somewhere and trap me in somewhere. And basically they would, carry on living my life, but it wouldn't be me, basically, and nobody would know.
Well, I mean, has that not happened already?
No, I'm here. I'm fully functioning. I'm here.
Are you sure?
Uber present. I wish I wasn't. It's quite painful.
Don't say things like that, Christine.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, don't say things. You don't know what. I mean, they could do that.
I don't think so. I think I'm learning how to deal with them. I mean, since I've been more astrally conscious, which has come about lately just through mixing with basis people and, well, mainly, the girl that was helping me, I've become conscious and I do come in contact with entities on there, and they're normally really, really dark entities. And I do know how to deal with them. It's interesting, they haven't got emotions, so you just deal with them in a respectful manner, and try not to engage, just get around them really. But they're quite interesting because they haven't got any kind of emotions, so there's no point engaging them emotionally.
Well, this is the whole point. This is what Harold Coates-Vela. He's. I mean, in a week's time, I'll be speaking at Kerry Cassidy's Awake and Aware conference at the High Elms Manor in that's North London, in Watford, which is just outside North London. And Harold Coates-Vela, when he got infested by one of these spider things which attacked him, it's all on basis if you want to see it. That essentially these creatures don't have emotion. They haven't got the higher emotive consciousness from this virus that was landed on this sort of intelligent oil, this thing that was landed on Earth in the southern hemisphere several thousand years ago. And this is the stuff which the Germans were working on before the war. And the reason why I'm saying that is because one of the first basis witnesses, Lisa Williams, has done her own independent research on this, and she has come up with exactly the same conclusion, that in certain labs in Germany, this stuff was distilled from the rocks from these meteors, which the British didn't get hold of until the Falklands War, and they seem to be working on this stuff. And they just disposed of it. They threw it down the drain in London at Earl's Court. And this stuff is rebuilding life, but it's also learning from us. So possibly one of the positive signs that Harold Coates-Vela was talking about was this lower emotive material, that this lower consciousness stuff is learning about the higher levels it can aspire to. Because one of the most important things this material seems to enjoy or like or become fascinated with is complex form. So it's been introduced into the human bioframe, and so it's able to, and other insects and other life forms. So it's exploring and understanding and learning about all these other patterns. And with any luck, it will learn about the higher consciousness, about the higher states of knowingness and understanding. Because if it doesn't, and when it creates other life forms, they will just have a pathological, emotionless form. And this is ultimately which was described in the BBC television series Doctor Who, when these artificial life forms were created by in the second story on Doctor Who way back in 1963 was a series of cyborgs, and they were called Daleks. Now, they were created and they were derived from humans. They were non-human cyborg units, and they had a completely emotionless exterminate and kill everything in sight basic logic. Now, that is what the BBC put on our television screens in 1963. So that was derived, that basic idea was derived from what Barry King's father had discovered in a German lab. These strange-looking humans, these beings which were created, and Kathy Morgan, who'll be coming to the conference, and she'll be singing at the conference with Nick Ashmore. She's a very good guitar player and great voice, and that's what she discovered in the war in Britain during the war. The key ministries were taken over by these creatures, and they started to develop programs in, for instance, the National Health Service, all part of the program, the MK Ultra infiltration program, which was key to the Scottish National Party's formation. So Scotland, the main party that governs Scotland right now, its origins is based in MK Ultra mind control. So Scotland is going to secede, probably going to secede from the United Kingdom and stay in Europe, and it will be run as a pure 100% MK Ultra hive mind programming country. And right now, Glasgow is the most surveilled and surveyed and scanned city on the planet. And as of the 1st of August, it will be law that when you have a baby as soon as you conceive, that conceived child becomes is owned by the state, and you will have a state governor, a state watcher who will watch over that child's development. And if there's anything that the parents do wrong, the parents are basically there to keep the child, to bring it up, but it will be 100% operated and owned by the MK Ultra Scottish National Party governess of the state. And if that child, for instance, for any reason isn't going to go to term, or there's any going to be reason why that child isn't going to survive, they will make sure it will survive so they can harvest its organs afterwards. They'll keep it alive for as long as possible so it will grow, and they can take organs and whatever they need from that child, because it will be state property. And that is what's happening in this country right now. It is a part of a plan by completely heartless creatures who are taking control of everything. And this whole Brexit thing has taken a few people by surprise, and they've severely limited the numbers because this was a massive vote, and they're covering that up. That vote was, a farce as such. Apart from that, everything's fine, Christine.
What do you mean covering it up? I don't understand. What?
The scale of the Brexit vote was huge, and when you see a narrow margin on something which is so big, which is clearly the reaction to the politicians, the reaction by the Labour Party, which is leaderless. Right now, this country, the UK, is leaderless, and it's split. Northern Ireland, Wales, and Scotland want to stay in Europe because they're going to. There's a big move in Scotland, which has hit the papers, for them to negotiate their own membership of Europe. Northern Ireland is desperate to stay in Europe, and there was a vote there to stay, and surprise, surprise, it was the Sinn Féin propaganda machine which pushed the vote to stay in Europe, and one of the major parts of Wales wishes to stay in Europe. So these individual areas are already thinking that they could just negotiate separately and then that would completely break up the UK, because basically the UK is now run by a Conservative Party, which is only an English party. The major Westminster government, as far as anybody's concerned abroad, has virtually no actual vote in any other part of the British Isles other than basically England and the southeast of England mostly. So Britain basically has broken up de facto. And whether that'll actually happen in legal terms is another thing altogether. But that's why we have a completely rudderless, leaderless government at the moment, which is not a good thing when there is a massive rise in so-called right-wing groups all across Europe over this planned strategic use of the immigration weapon by the Nephilim. They've gone into all these other countries, these Arab countries, the Arab Spring. They've gone in there, destabilized all those countries, and basically herding the massively decimated, attacked, and angry population in those African and Arab and Syrian and Iranian. Well, Iran's the only one that's managed to hold its ground. All those people with a Nephilim created ISIS group are being herded through panic and the destruction of their homelands by us in our name to herd into Europe and destroy Europe. And that is the plan of the Nephilim, to wipe human beings out on this planet.
Huh. There's somebody saying here that it was quite interesting. I found it earlier that people were saying Brexit signals the end of the New World Order. And it goes on to say, well, nothing could be...
Complete rubbish. It's actually a plan by the New World Order.
Yes, that's what this person is saying. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, the collapse of the European Union is a necessary step in building the New World Order. The Rockefellers and Kissinger outlined back in their late 1950s New World Order implementation plan. The hopeful result is peace in a world divided into smaller units, but organized and acting in common effort to permit and assist progress in economic, political, cultural and spiritual life. Such a community must facilitate the freest and fullest access by everyone to the thinking of everyone. It must allow for the widest diversity of ideas, social structure and forms of expression compatible with the functioning of the community. It would presumably consist of regional institutions under an international body of growing authority, combined so as to be able to deal with those problems increasingly the separate nations will not be able to solve alone. Take special note of the first passage. The hope for result in peace is a world divided into smaller units. So is the EU a smaller unit? No, an EU superstate with its own army is a larger unit than its constituent nation states. So it clearly wasn't built to be part of the real New World Order. Rather, it was built as an expendable tool to help the globalists get to the New World Order. Well, and then it says, so what was the EU's raison d'etre, you asked? To tie as many European nations as possible into a political and currency union, and then crash the union to create political and economic chaos. And on the currency side of it, they put the planned result of this crash right on the cover of The Economist back in 1988.
Well, that's interesting. Where did you get that? Where can people look up that information?
I found it on Fritz Springmeier's website. As the article suggests, national currencies will not disappear after this year's crisis, although the euro will, but they will become increasingly disused as the banksters make it more attractive to use the new global currency. As for the euro, it is a component of the IMF's SDR, so the IMF might make arrangements to allow its member nations to exchange their worthless euros for a special allotment of SDRs. The citizens would trade their euros for the new nation's currencies. Then their governments would trade the amassed euros for IMF SDRs. This would in turn the world's existing euro reserves into SDR reserves in a single stroke, thus aiding the new global currency in its rise. It is worth noting that the evil Western globalists' supposed opponents, the Chinese, are fully cooperating in this SDR to Phoenix plot.
So how is that going to work out as such?
I don't know.
I mean, it looks as if things are going to be switched to the old kingdoms, the old kingdoms of the Middle Ages. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I'm sure they'll be able to jerk us around, no matter if we're joined up or all separate. I mean, it's from a really it's from a really high level, isn't it? So they're not really down here with us, and so it doesn't have to be done in an obvious way or in a way that we might see, that it's going in a certain way. It might be done in a more intelligent way, in a more higher, advanced way that we obviously don't know what's going on. They are quite a few steps ahead of us.
Well, I think what we need to do is realize we have a predator, realize it's dangerous, realize that we all come from different parts of whatever universe we want to consider to be a universe, and we're here, we're on a planet. Whether it's flat or round is irrelevant, and we've got to survive. We've got to work together. We've got to form ourselves into something which will identify these creatures and neutralize them from the point of view of being harmful to life on this planet and our collective being, and then figure out what we've got and utilize whatever resources we've got and whatever ancient technology there is left that can work, and use that to defend ourselves. We live on a planet which has got ancient defense mechanisms, and this has been highlighted by Valery Uvarov. It's been backed up by Peter Paget that we effectively live on a sort of a planet a bit like the movie Forbidden Planet, which means there is ancient technology here that we made a long time ago, and we need to essentially get that going, repair it, rebuild it, stop using the computer, the drone, the Trojan horse computer technology which we are using now. We were developing a much more sophisticated, much more powerful semi-analog based computer technology which uses the natural algorithmic and mathematical relationships of the existence that we are in. We've adopted a computer technology which is Trojan by virtue of the mathematics accesses or is accessible to other dimensions by enemies which have given us this technology in the first place. And we are handing over all our intelligence services, all our security services, everything we've got is walking straight into a complete quagmire of a Trojan horse with this technology which we're using now, this computer stuff that we're using, which is why it keeps going wrong. We don't understand why, but it keeps going wrong.
But
because somebody else is pulling the strings.
What else can we do but use the technology?
Well, we go back to the stuff that we were developing originally and use that. And we get that information from the data banks which were recovered and has been recovered for quite some time, 60, 70 years now, and use that. I mean, somebody else is well ahead of the game here. Google and the CIA are working together to create an artificial intelligence which they think they're going to control. Anybody in the CIA or anybody in these intelligence agencies, if you really think that when this stuff is really taking off, that you are going to have an off button and you're going to be able to control it, you are living in a fool's paradise. You are idiots. We have been conned. Now, there are rogue elements within those agencies who know that, which is why I believe Peter Paget is actually doing what he's doing. He's behaving effectively like an independent agent to release this UFO stuff. And he'll be speaking twice. He'll be speaking at Kerry Cassidy's thing at High Elms Hall in 10 days' time. Saturday the 9th and 10th, Saturday, Sunday 9th and 10th. I'll be speaking there, and then again at Passing Clouds in East London, in Hackney. It's a wonderful arts centre run by a wonderful woman called Eleanor Wilson in Hackney. That's Passing Clouds. And there'll be 2 separate days of lectures by Peter Paget, Harold Couts Vela, and myself and Maria Wheatley. And that'll be at Passing Clouds. And that's happening in the next 2 weeks.
So is Harold come over from Germany?
Yeah, Harold has re-emerged after what he calls as an extremely difficult period of personal transformation. This has resulted in a massive fallout with his former co-author, Cara St. Louis, who was going to be a speaker at my conference, but due to certain malicious rumors which were passed around in mostly people's imagination, she's not now speaking at my conference, but she's gone her own separate way. And she was going to be delivering a major presentation on the Fae, who are enemies of the reptilians. So it looks as if the reptilians have managed to convince Cara to self-censor herself by not speaking. But that's all in the past now.
What about, I mentioned Brian Froud, who creates these portals for the Fae and paints them.
Well, I need to talk to him about. I mean, we need to. I can't announce somebody who's going to be speaking if I don't know really anything about them.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a word with him. I'll ring him and ask him would he come and speak. He's not that far away. He's just down in Devon.
All right. Well, one of the most important speakers is Maria Wheatley. Now, she's a brilliant local archaeologist, and she's discovered this major find of these long-headed, skulled people who are massacred, all gathered up and massacred at Stonehenge. And she's found out that information, and she'll be discussing now. Miriam Jans from Holland will be discussing aspects of her therapeutic abilities. Lorraine Fenton was going to be coming, but she's lost her passport, like when I did, and she can't leave the States. Somebody called Christine J Hart is speaking. I've mentioned that before. Now, one of the most important people who's coming in from Poland is Igor Wikowski. Now, Igor Wikowski is the key source to the German technology, the German flying saucer technology. Now, anybody who's written anything on the flying saucer material always references Igor's work. So this is a unique opportunity that Igor Wikowski will be speaking on Saturday and Sunday, the 13th and 14th of August at the Bouverie Hall in Pewsey in Wiltshire in England. And he will be giving a 1-hour presentation on both of those days and giving key information about the German flying saucer technology and the other really important elements of the German World War II technology, just how far they got. And that is flying saucers, interdimensional portals, and the creation of non-human cyborg units, the first creation of cyborgs, the first sort of cloning happened with the Germans. Now, I'm saying that, I'm sure he's going to put a lot more meat on those bones. And then there's going to be Kieran Lee Perrin, who's going to be speaking with Magnus Olsson, and another guy called Paul, who's one of the key targeted individual people here in England. And that's going to be a major targeted individual night on a Friday. There's another former British agent called Michael Shrimpton, who actually spent some time in jail for his woes. And he will be talking about how the German Secret Service ended up shooting down a number of British airliners in the 1950s. And he will subsequently be going into further detail on more recent air crashes. Peter Paget will be continuing his UFO disclosure. So these lectures with Kerry Cassidy, she's got 2 coming in July. You've got my major presentations in August. These are major UFO disclosure events.
Sorry, Michael Shrimpton, where did you find him?
Michael Shrimpton, I saw at AV7, which was run by Ian R. Crane. He does an excellent series of very well put together conferences. They're called The Alternative View. That's AV7. AV8 next year is already practically booked out, and he has a very heavy political type of a conference. A lot of it is on the scandal of Gaza and the various secret plans by various multinationals to basically poison us, cyborg us, make us into obedient, dumbed down, drugged up slaves, which is what the EU was pushing really heavily. A major psychologist, Dr. Emma Teresa Lewis. Now, she is a key, extremely high-level professional in psychology, and she'll be given a private group session to individuals who want to find out. I mean, she talks about how the BBC was using mind control in programming, right from children's television, right through the whole theme of BBC programs. That's why the BBC mentions the term programs so much. They constantly refer in today's program.
Who is that again? What's her name?
Dr. Emma Teresa Lewis is a professional psychologist who trains other psychologists, and she wants to meet targeted individuals and other people who've been exposed to these MK Ultra and Monarch programs, and also give a private session, a group session, and that's bookable only through her. Maria Wheatley will be giving her own tour of Salisbury Plain, and also a private tour of the area where those skulls were found. That's on Friday afternoon. Miriam Janssen will be given one-on-one targeted individual sessions, so that people can have a one-on-one healing session with her. Two major important scientists will be Eamon Ansborough and his wife Catherine Ansborough. Eamon Ansborough will be given a crucial UFO disclosure briefing featuring actual UFOs in Ireland, and he'll be doing that he's already given the bare bones of this presentation to scientific presentations in Bulgaria, I think, or Bosnia, I'm not too sure, and also in England to astronomers who are interested in contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. That's the SETI group. So he's given a scientific briefing on this, on how the UFOs use certain energy pathways that go across the Earth, and he's based his research laboratory in Ireland, where there are 3 intersecting areas where he can study where these objects come in, and they use these energy bands like superhighways. Now he will show a film. I've seen that film, and this is coming from a scientific astronomical source. This is a scientific UFO disclosure film. Now this will only be shown at the event. It will not be available online. So if you want to see that film, it's very brief, but if you want to see that, and it's coming from an astronomer, a scientific source, a respected scientist who's published papers on this for the astronomical science community, and he will be giving that at the conference on Saturday the 13th of August. Now his wife, Catherine, both of these individuals have been engaging with ETs. They've been bringing them in. It's called a CE5, and he's been doing it long before Stephen Greer hijacked this whole thing. So they have been dealing with scientists and scientific groups in Europe, dealing with contact with extraterrestrial beings, more of an extra-dimensional nature, but physical craft coming in and having contact. Now, this is scientific stuff. Now, Catherine will be discussing her presentation, which is about contacting the consciousness of all other life on Earth, the plants, the living beings of the life force of the Earth itself, and the life on Earth, which is under so much threat from this sentient fluid, this black goo, which was deliberately infected into the Earth's biosphere by sources unknown several thousand years ago. And that is sort of almost it. I'm sure I've left somebody else off. Ben, I keep on dropping Ben off this. Ben Emlyn Jones will be speaking about these grotesque art forms of the BBC, which show child molestation and sexual acts, which are on show at the BBC Broadcasting House. And the BBC this has been brought to the attention of the BBC some time ago, and they have said no, they're artworks, and we're keeping them there. So this is the BBC in plain sight. It's a programmer. It's used for mind control and population management, and they have children being whatever, and he's going to talk about that as to why the BBC have these grotesque art forms in Broadcasting House, and why they refuse to take them down. Which goes to show, people should understand the BBC has covered this over 60 years. The first BBC station, 2LO, which came on the air, was set up by the Nephilim as a mind programmer technological device, that source comes from military sources who have been aware of the BBC's activities in this.
So, what about Max and Sarah? They're coming. What are they?
Yeah, that's a new one. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm running off an old list here. Max will be basically stepping into what Kyra's slot has become available, but Max will be speaking on a Saturday. Now, it's important that Max is now speaking on his own. He's did a very good presentation. Max Spiers did a very good presentation in Poland, and he'll be speaking. Max has had a severe beating. He woke up black and blue with lots of injuries after being targeted. And Kieran Lee Perrin likewise. These super soldiers are being taken in some kind of interdimensional war, and they are dealing with some kind of war which is just out of our realm. But anyway, that's...
One sec, Miles. We're just having a 2-minute break. Can you just mute up?
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hi there, it's Christine J Hart, and it's Valkyries at Revolution Radio, broadcasting live from London. And we've got Miles Johnston from Basis, who's a guest tonight, and he's sharing with us all about what's going to be happening up there in the countryside in August. So it's high summer. He's having a conference, and we're just going through who's going to be there and what they're going to be talking about. So Miles, back to you. You were talking about Max Spiers and what he's going to be talking about.
Yeah, well, Max has had a hard time, and it took a great deal of guts to come back to me. We had a big bust up. What's happening is a lot of us are having these big bust ups, a lot of infighting and ego and all sorts of stuff like that. One by one, we're being picked off, or we're being attacked in one way or another. And so that was a bit of a short break. I was going to get a coffee. It's 4 minutes to the hour, anyway, on my clock. Anyway, depending on which clock you look at. Anyway, the important thing is that he delivered. He's always appeared with Sarah, and when he first appeared on Bases, I ran these things called Bases at the Barge, and the idea was to give people who have done an interview in front of the camera with Bases the opportunity to give a chat in front of actual people. But a lot of these people have never spoken before. They've never spoken in front of an audience. So the idea was to put them on in front of a small audience in a friendly atmosphere. And that was what the Bases at the Barge sort of things were. Now, the first one of those was with James Casbolt, and at the time, Casbolt and Max Spiers were having a real fight. There was a massive, massive discord, and this was shortly after Casbolt was basically thrown out of the United States. He was thrown out of the family. Really bad divorce type of situation. He was left penniless. He stayed in a hotel for like 2 or 3 for about a month. And the story is that essentially he used up all his potential. There was a prenuptial agreement with a certain amount of money, and Casbolt, the claim was he used all that up, and he was basically thrown out of the United States. His mother came over, picked him up, and brought him back. Now, all the commentators, all the people who know James Casbolt, have said that whoever came back was not the same person that went. And those individuals have said repeatedly that the kind of emails that James was sending and messages that he was sending back after he went to the States and got married and then he had the baby and all that were getting worse and worse. And this involved, or in it was talking about some horrendous and terrible things which he was exposed to. And then it was a case of him being observer at, to being participant in whatever these things were. Now, close observers to Casbolt, when he spoke at bases at the barge, seemed to observe that was a sort of a delay in what he was saying. And they're basically inferring that he's under some kind of remote control. Now, what subsequently happened was James went off the rails. He he's had a huge female following, and he was connecting with something like at least 100 women online. And some of that got dirty, some of it got really bad. And as a result of that, he was reported to the police, and then the police took that on board. All of that information then was classified, and subsequently he was arrested for possession of cannabis, and then he was on bail, and the whole thing went downhill from there. And but the point is that just before he came back from the United States, there's a statement where he says or claims that Max Spiers shot James Casbolt at point blank range in a car which was basically hired, or was actually an NSA car for some kind of exchange of documents of some kind, and the person who was taking those documents, or whatever it was to be Max Spiers. Now, Casbolt said that Max shot him at point blank range, but I don't see any evidence of that. But the point is that Casbolt is saying that he's got some kind of skin which is essentially made from a sort of a cross between a spider type web, which allows his skin to be not to be penetrated by bullets. Now, the thing about this is, and this is the thing about so much of this stuff, there's now stuff coming out that at Portendown here in England, not too far from where I'm speaking, they've crossed human genes with spider genes. Now that was designed so that you could have extremely strong human cells which were crossed with the spider's web. The spider's web is the strongest material on the planet for its size. It kind of stresses that a spider's web can, it's well known for that. Now, there's also talk that they also cross spiders with silkworms, so the silkworms would produce this really fine material, and then the silk that the silkworms would make would be so strong they could use it for ballistic armament, protection. So you could wear a jacket made of this thing, of this material, and you could shoot a ballistic high velocity bullet at you and it wouldn't penetrate. But when you have a further link, so this story that Casbolt can be shot at point blank range and not show that there's been a bullet there could have some credence. But personally, I don't believe it. But that's the story. When you've got all these other factors to sort of bear in mind. This also refers to humans who it's some observers have noted that there are creatures at Boscombe Down which actually have got 8 legs. A lower human body has got 8 legs, and they're hairy, really hairy, coarse black hair. And then the upper body is that of a human, and then the head has got sort of not quite 8 eyes, but it's got a large number of subocular sensors. I don't exactly know how they're actually in the head of the spider type human, but that material's been backed up by another individual who is talking. Now I see Max has come on. Now this story is very sensitive, but the point is that Max delivered a very good presentation at Poland, and he'll be talking at the conference in August the 12th. And the thing about this is, time when Casbolt was speaking at the barge, Max was going to be there. That didn't actually happen. The idea was to have Max and James together, so this story could then be, basically discussed in a public domain. That didn't happen. So the first time Max actually spoke in public was at Coronation Hall with Sarah, and the whole point was that was a big strain for him at that time. It was the first time of speaking. So the whole thing is that at the base conference he will be speaking on his own, but Sarah will be speaking as well, whereas previously Max and Sarah have always spoken together. So this is going to be the first time Max and Sarah will speak on the same stage, but not together on the same stage. So since Max is here, Max can all that Miles words. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even hear what. Am I on the radio, Miles?
Yeah, you're on now. Well,
Hey,
basically, Max, I was explaining the background to the first appearance of Bases at the Barge, where James made his first statement. That I was discussing this claim, and I know you objected to this about this point blank bullet thing, which I basically have said I didn't believe that, but I was explaining why it could have been possible based on this crossing of human DNA with spider DNA to produce some kind of fabric or skin which could sustain a point blank bullet wound. Now I still don't believe that's possible.
Are you talking about him not being damaged by the shot?
Yeah, basically claiming that he was shot at point blank and not showing any signs.
An exoskeleton, then he wouldn't be damaged by it. But first of all, we have to establish that I did or I didn't do it.
Well, that's a completely different thing. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
made it clear that you didn't. You had major reservations about that, putting it mildly. But
Yeah. Interesting.
Interesting.
I just came into a conversation. Hi, Christine. How are you?
Have you? So you didn't want to shoot James Casbolt?
No, I had no intention at that point of shooting James. No.
I wonder why he said that. It's probably Miles. It's probably the usual bickering and infighting with people who are sharing. And
I had been on an ongoing war with him for 12 months, but it was an astral war, and if anything went down, it was nothing that was done in 3D. No, I didn't appear in the back of the car in the Mini outside the front of the Marriott Hotel in San Antonio when I was living in Dallas, when I have an alibi. So no, that didn't happen that way.
So you had a war that went on, but it was in the astral.
Yes, for a year. It almost killed me. Yes, but it didn't. Yes. What
was that about? Was it about what was going on in the physical, about you guys sharing and who was the best kind of thing?
I think what happens and I'm going to speak for just a few minutes, okay? I think what happens with some of the lads who have been placed in the projects from 3 onwards, and from my memory, there was from about 2 or 3 to about 7 or 8 that I have vivid memories. And what they do is they do a sort of a Hunger Games type playoff, and they like to see who has the stronger genetics. And then they place the children together when they're young, obviously, and then they replace them again when they're adults together, and then they play them off or fight them off again against each other to see who is the stronger, who has the stronger DNA out of the 12, out of the basic 12 strands. Okay, so it's more of a game. It's more of a game to them to see who is the stronger. If the Draco are working off a survival and survival of the fittest or the strongest, and they play off one kid against the other, and that's what happened with that. Yeah, it's very sad, really, because what they do in the first place is they trauma bond, so they make it so that there is a deep connection in the first place, and then they take away, and this happens with relationships, male and female relationships, and then they take away, and then 10 years later they replace, or they put circumstances in where they meet again, and then this type of thing happens. This type of thing happens. It's a sensitive issue, obviously, because I wouldn't want anybody to go down who had been through anything like that, because it's horrific. But at the end of the day, I have to take care of myself, and I think I said it before. I take myself and who I love. I'm not going to sit down and say, you win. I'm going to say I'm going to make sure that I'm protected, and I did what was necessary in 4D to make sure that he couldn't do what he was doing anymore, and it was stopped. It's all serious, isn't it?
Yeah. Was he coming at you fighting, or just?
Yes. Every day. We fought every day. Yeah, he's actually one of the only ones I've ever fought that was in the same league. And this is not about ego, and none of this is about ego, because it's all kind of pretty disgusting, really. But I don't know where they've put him now. I don't think he's in the UK. And I was talking to Miles briefly a week or so ago, and I think that I had a thought and I had a dream, and I think that, well, not a dream, but I had a vision that he is not in the UK at all, and he's in New Mexico. So I think he's in the US, and I think he's well kept hidden, and I don't think you were going to see him for a while. Especially when Agent Buried Alive came out, it sent shockwaves out, because when the CLC-1 base was exposed, that's when things really shook up, and that triggered me, and then we have 2010 up until now. We're speaking now, so 6 years. I'm trying to be clear, but I'm trying to speak so I don't implicate myself or say too much.
What was the CLC base? What's that?
Central London Centre base. It's the
that's under Parliament, isn't it?
Yes, directly under Parliament. Yes, yeah.
That's the Westminster Parliament.
Exactly. Directly, they always do 13, but yeah, it's 13 floors underneath Parliament. Yeah. They do a lot of young Dan, tribe of Dan boys programming under there. I don't know why. I think it's ley lines. I think that there's multiple ley lines that cross there, and I think that they need to do it there for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but
I
I
think it's
know that they
connected to
do.
Hammersmith Hospital as well.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. And listen, Miles, the Royal Free Hospital. No one has mentioned that. Okay, and anybody out there needs to research. The Royal Free Hospital is connected to Tavistock and Stanford and Sussex University. The babies from the Royal Free Hospital, I don't know the percentage, low 20, 30, I don't know, but are taken to the CLC one.
You're talking about the two kids of the heir to the throne.
Right.
She didn't have those
Right.
babies.
No, she didn't.
She never had those babies.
But have you seen this? She was lobotomized. She was lobotomized she was lobotomized before she could cause any trouble like Diana did. Have you seen the scars? Have you seen the scars on the side of her head? They're exactly like lobotomy scars.
So we're talking about the future Queen of England has been lobotomized, and she didn't have those children.
No, she's never going to be the Queen of England. No, yeah, but yes,
I mean, they're going to bump her off
the
like they did Diana.
storyline. Say again.
They're going to bump her off, or she's going to have a convenient illness.
I don't think she's a cartoon character, so whatever suits the storyline at the time, because they're switching and changing it up at the moment because the quote unquote light are becoming very powerful. So there's chess pieces moving very fast.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
I mean, Christine, you did try to contact James, and you got the information. You got the official word, didn't you?
Well, they sent the firstly, because I've spoke to prisoners before, it's my thing. When I was working for Fleet Street, I did a lot of going into prisons, and I rang them up and I spoke to one of the guards there, and he said, write to the main prison because then it'll get sorted, and then the letter will get to him. So I wrote him a letter, and it was returned from the prison that they don't have anyone of that name or anything like that in any of those 3 prisons there.
No, because he doesn't exist.
Mm.
Right.
And if he was transferred out, then they would have moved my letter because Jeremy Bamber, who I wrote to for quite a long time, he was moved around these little English prisons, and the letters follow. And for that to come back,
they're not going to just tell anybody anyway, are they?
Yeah. I know. It's just like, he was never there.
It's a very serious situation. It's a very, very, very serious situation. As serious as it gets. So no, they're not going to.
Well, I understand John Irwin may have been asked to contribute something in some way or another, but maybe
He has involvement, but he has a separate team, which is nothing. Okay, for me, it has nothing to do with me. I just know of it. I would like to. We should. I'd like to do a show. I'm just out at the moment. I'd like to do. I'll talk about this, and I'll openly, talk about some things that have come up over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I'm just in a spot at the moment. I'm just in the middle of nowhere. So we can. Christine, when's the next time we can? Miles, you should come on too. When's the next time we can?
Sure.
Well, next Thursday, but I'm going to be.
Next Thursday.
Well, I won't be available. I'm doing.
You won't be available?
No, I'm doing Question Time in Brighton.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I'm here, Max.
Okay,
that's okay.
because a lot's gone on. A lot's gone on in the last 3 weeks. A lot's gone on. A lot's gone on. So
Well, I mean, we're
I,
right now this country's leaderless. We don't have a leader of either party.
no, no, we
So
don't.
the right
Well,
wing groups,
remember,
I
this is
understand,
part. This is
are
part of the order, the New World Order, right? And so then London wants to become its own entity of itself, so it can free trade. It wants to become a separate power to England itself, because all the Londoners actually didn't want to be free from Europe.
yeah.
So there's now a fight for London. Not, I mean, we all know the City of London, like the Vatican or Washington D.C., are like separate entities from the country themselves. But London itself wants to become a separate entity to
Well,
England.
I was mentioning, Max, about an hour
Yeah.
ago that the leader of the Scottish National Party,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
is basically an MK Ultra party. The founding members of the Scottish
Yeah.
National Party are
Yeah.
key members of the team that implemented MK Ultra into British society. And that
Yes.
Scotland, as a separate unit, because the Conservative Party in England effectively only have any relevance in the south of England.
Listen. Remember. Babylon done. Okay, there's going to be three spots of power, and then one overseer, and London's going to be one of the power spots. So
It would be, is
look,
that one should be China and another one would be America?
okay. So there's Denver. Okay, so
Yeah.
you have Denver for sure. Okay, London is going to separate itself, and then you're going to, but there has to be a South Pacific. So there's going to be an Australian influence, or South, I would say Australia. I don't know, but there's three. There's going to be three, and there's going to be one overseer who's going to take the throne. But there's lots more to that. I've got to run.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'd like to talk
Well,
about it,
anyway, Max,
Christine.
in 30
Yeah.
seconds, what are you going to speak at the conference on the 12th and the 13th of August?
Okay, okay. So I wanted to talk about basically what we were talking about now, about the three ruling powers that are gonna be in place. We're talking like 18 months, 24 months, 36 months away. I mean, it's moving that fast. And I wanted to talk about that the Draco are terrified about the AI has now overtaken. They don't know how to deal with what this. It's not new. It's not like a new thing, but they don't know how to deal with it. So now they're looking to these hybrids that they've built through these projects to save them. So they're looking to these lads who they built when they were kids in the 70s to deal with this AI system that's now almost taken over control of everything. If the Draco are pure intellect, then the AI system is even more so than that. And they don't know how to deal with it. So they don't want. The AI is. I would say. I don't know. I don't know if to call it. I don't know if calling it the AI is right. If that's the right name, I'm just saying that. But
Well, I
whatever.
think it's only from our perspective, we think it's an artificial intelligence,
Right.
because
I
we
think it's a
assume
lot
that it
more
was.
than that, because
Yes,
it's very old.
it's a very
It's
old
very, very
intelligence
old. Yeah.
propagated here
Yes.
by something.
Yes. So I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about how that is going to be dealt with, and in a very short period of time. I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about the connection between MK Ultra and addiction, because it needs to be spoken about, and it needs to be people need to not sit in shame and think that they they're hiding their emotions or the fears and the shame and everything that comes along with all the abuse that Miles, like we've talked about before. And so, but you know, I'll mix it all together, and it'll be perfect.
And very briefly, do you know anything about what Sarah's going to talk about?
Sarah wants to talk about. I don't want to speak for her now because I don't want to speak for her now, but I will on
Okay, well,
Thursday.
we don't need to.
She wants to talk about the 9, okay, and the 9 are a group who like I'm trying to think of a word.
Well, that connects Yuri Geller, Andrew Jepuharich.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I gather even Richard C. Hoagland is connected in there somehow.
Okay. So there you go. So you're on the right track.
I mean, it's
She wants to
mentioned
talk about that.
in the book by Andrew Jepuharich on Yuri Geller.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Michael Jackson is connected to that as well, and was time traveling. And had a lot to do with that. I'll talk about that. That'll trip everyone out. Michael Jackson, Elizabeth Taylor, and a number of other names were David Blaine. Let's talk. I'll talk about the Archer DB, which is 4-2, and time travel, and the inversion of the true Archer, the true Sagittarian. Michael Jackson they needed to get rid of him. He did do some nasty stuff, but you know, he was a perpetrator because he was perpetrated. He wasn't all bad, but he's actually connected to Geller. He's connected to David Guest, who's dead. He's connected to Elizabeth Taylor, who was a straight Draco. Lots to talk about, Miles. Lots to talk about, and Christine, let's do that on Thursday.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, welcome. I mean, yeah, come straight on. Sometimes you sort of go missing, though.
I do. Yeah, I do. Well, I have to.
All right. Well, I'll look forward to you coming on next week. It's 7 o'clock. So is that okay for you that time?
Yes, it depends. Next Thursday, yes. It's 9 o'clock for me now. So yeah, that's fine. So then 9 o'clock, I will be there.
Oh, excellent.
I'll just message you before. Yeah, no problem.
Cool. Where are you now? I thought you were in the UK. You're in America.
No. I'm not in America. I'm not in the UK. I'm not in Poland either.
You're not going to tell us where you are.
He's not going to tell you.
No.
I'm going to die of curiosity now. I'm going to try and work out who's half an hour ahead of us because we're 8:30 here in the UK.
And you'll never get it.
Oh
but
my
it was
God.
a pleasure. It was a pleasure. And Miles, I'll speak to you on the phone in the next couple of days anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll do next Thursday, Christine. All right.
Essentially, the main thing is, in terms of breaking news, is that Magnus Olsson will be speaking on the major target individual event night, which is Friday.
Okay.
He's
I have respect for Magnus.
He's just agreed to speak, and it's a huge boost for the target individual.
That's great.
Movement.
That's great. Brilliant.
That's going to happen. Friday is basically TI night.
Brilliant. The more the better. The more it's more empowering. I'm doing a third interview with Alec because I know 3 will be a trinity, and the 3 interviews I'm doing with him and the work I've done with him has been extremely
now, Alec,
important.
who could be? People.
Don't ask me to pronounce her Polish last name.
Oh, fine. They were really good. I listened to the first 2. They were really good, Max. Really good.
Thank you.
Well done. I really enjoyed them.
They haven't. The second one hasn't been. Doesn't have subtitles yet. They're still doing it. But
I was just curious about what you said. You said there was an Eden coming because I thought it was at End Times, and then you said that there's going to be an Eden before there's going to be.
So Eden, I would say, would be the equivalent of 1,000-year Reich. So 1,000 years of peace.
Right.
So So yes, there is going to be that. Yes.
After a grand battle.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, good. I thought, well, yeah, because I always suck down everything you say because I know it's true. And I thought, oh, hang on, where's the grand battle?
It's just about to tip off right now.
Right. Yeah.
Look around you. Look
Yeah.
around you. Look around you.
Yeah.
Didn't they just blow up 42 people in Turkey? I only arrived yesterday.
In Turkey.
Well, I don't know, but 42. That's
It's
the
terrible.
Archer.
I know it's really bad. It's
Yeah.
and they say it's going to get really worse as well. When you're talking about
Well,
fear, you
everything's
were
going to get
talking
worse
about
until it
fear.
balances itself out.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me do a whole thing and talk to you about it in because I'm completely caught off guard. So
Sure.
let me do a whole thing where I've actually thought about what I'm going to say. But I hope I've given you some things. I'll ask you one more thing and then I'm going to run away.
Sure. Sure. I want to ask about the fear. You were talking about the fear. I'm sure it was you. You said in one of the interviews in Poland about how the fear, it would get so bad that the fear would be
So
too much for some people.
fear is the lowest vibration. Okay, and so that's the vibration that they need to keep you in, to keep you into a bondage. So but a lot of it's fake. So if you're following the news storyline, then you're kept in bondage fear. And then so you're kept in a low vibrational fear. um what else?
So what do we do? Do we just leave the telly off and don't watch
Well,
newspapers?
I actually haven't been watching it, and I didn't see all these things they've been showing me on the television.
Mm.
I think they make a big deal out of the news, and I look around and I don't actually see it, but they're because it's silent weapons for a quiet war.
Mm.
Yeah, the war's being done silently, but then 3D and 4D emerging. So now it's going to it's they're so close now.
Mm.
That's why people are seeing literally seeing reptilians. Literally seeing um, uh, um, seeing things, seeing the unseen. Sensitive people are seeing the unseen, and more and more and more. Boriska, the pilot, the Mars pilot, uh, is now completely completely has telekinesis. Almost completely has telekinesis. So as the vibration raises, we're almost in 4D anyway. New colors, new things, new abilities, new vision. Um, we're ready. We're ready to go. It's just some. I would say like 60 to 70% of people are not going to be able to handle the fact that everything has been a lie. Everything.
Mm. Do you think that's
Even
going to be revealed then soon?
revealed, only revealed in the sense that if you are perceptive enough to see it reveal itself, you can't be told it, because if you're told it, you probably won't see it.
No, you can't be told it. I remember meeting a girl who had had mind control, and she told me, I met her at Kew Gardens, and she was telling me about how, the world is tied up, it's on lockdown, we're not free. And I thought, yeah, keep taking the tablets, and I couldn't get away fast enough. And she
Yeah,
actually was so, like, a higher soul, really advanced, and was talking complete truth. But it's taken me 3 years from that meeting to
Christine,
get. Oh,
I
sorry.
gotta run. Okay,
Yeah,
all
sure,
right.
sure, sure.
So let's talk. Let's talk over the next week or whatever. Miles, I'll speak to you in the next day or two, and we'll work out about next Thursday. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. All right. Be safe, you guys. Bye.
Stay safe.
Okay.
Bye, Max.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Well, how about that then?
He comes on so enigmatically, doesn't he? You kept him on the line. That was very good. You're such a good tabloid hack.
Yeah. Well, no. The thing is that things are really happening. We've got a really serious situation evolving, and it's leaving an awful lot of people behind. And I mean, I've had personal experience of this, where individuals simply cannot handle the kind of stuff we're talking about. They absolutely simply can't deal with it. And we've got to leave them behind. We've got to really move on fast with what's being said, what's being seen, see what the implications are, work out strategies, and really understand quickly. And what Max just said about this AI, now, I came up with that totally independently before he said that himself. So he said exactly what I said. It's just obviously in his own words, that we have something which all the powers, I mean, it's the powers that be. Well, I mean, again, who's the powers that be? But the various agencies who really think that because they've got a badge or they've got a big desk have no idea what the hell they're dealing with. And they will have a skill set to run a various set of agencies in a particular way, but they're out of date. And we need to adopt new strategies and understandings to deal with what is happening inside our very DNA, even the very molecules, the so-called wavefront molecules. I mean, they're so busy trying to create new life. You know, that this announcement that they've got a new copy of human DNA, and we're going to have that within 10 years or 20 years. That means they've already got it. So that, I mean, as such, we are all facing extinction here. And the people who are pressing the buttons don't realize, they always think that they're going to be the people that's going to be involved or survive. It's always going to happen to somebody else. Well, guys, it's happening to you. If you breathe air and you're walking about and you take your kids to school, it's happening to you. You can't get away with it. You can't get away with the responsibility of your actions as you press those buttons. There is no I'm all right, Jack, in this.
Yeah.
Right? And we got to work the problem because we're all on one planet. Some people may think they're on a slightly different one, and they'll get away with it. They'll have their little dimension to go to. They'll be able to have a little stash of human souls that they'll be able to command in their little subspace lifeboat. Well, that lifeboat's going to sink. So we've got to see what's happening.
It's interesting. It is getting more and more, the 3D joining the 4D. I can really feel it, and just it's odd, isn't it, what's happening? I mean, not many people are talking about that ascension thing anymore, but it's really going on, isn't it? You can really like tune into it. It's like amazing.
Well, the thing is that people are beginning to realize that their local reality itself is showing signs of errors or problems, or things are happening with the reality that they've got, that they feel they're being bugged perhaps. But the thing is, it's your consciousness that's doing it. And I mean, as the late Roundy Kilda would say, they see with your eyes and hear with your ears, because there's something backdoor in our consciousness. And I see there's going to be another 2 Matrix movies. It's been announced.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yes, there's going to be a Matrix 4 and 5. And in fact, that actor, what's his name? I keep on getting his name wrong. Renault or something. The actor who played the lead role. He was actually rally driving he was in a rally at the wonderful Goodwood Festival of Speed here near Chichester in England, and it was good fun seeing a major movie star getting bumped about in a rally car and running around like blazes in the rain and the mud in England. But I think that's the fact that he was here to obviously maybe making that announcement.
Wasn't it interesting that Max is talking about him and James Casbolt having the war in the astral constantly?
Well, I think what You see, immediately this puts Casbolt in the yes, it's true category.
In the what?
You see, one of the big problems about Casbolt was he decided to enjoy himself by fibbing and misleading people and having a laugh. And this whole thing was, well, he's just an idiot, he's just so and so, but it means that James would say, I had to continually keep on the sort of, well, James, you haven't come up with any proof. It's just a great story. And until we have proof and actualities of things actually happening, and that has now happened. He's been to jail. He's married and had a kid with one of the richest, families on the planet. And, some kind of delusional faker doesn't do that.
Oh, you could tell he wasn't. You could tell he was the real deal.
From my point of view, all of the basis stuff are just good stories, but you've got to then look at it in the round. You look at Barry King's original material about these program-generated life forms, which you now call non-human cyborg units, and more information coming out about the Germans dealing with this in World War II, with more people digging up independently, digging up evidence and information. We hope to get Preston Nichols in on this, but Preston Nichols has been working with Lisa Williams, or Lisa Williams has been working with Preston Nichols, and he's one of the authors of the Montauk books. So there's an awful lot of information coming forward on this, and as that information comes forward,
he was dead. Miles Preston.
Preston Nichols.
Is he the fat guy?
No.
Oh no, he's the younger one.
No, Preston. Oh God, he's taken up a lot of weight the last time I saw him. There's Preston Nichols.
I got talking to Duncan Cameron because he was training that Alex guy who took me off down my timeline. So I'd been emailing Duncan Cameron, but he won't talk. He won't talk on the damn Skype, so he won't come on.
No, the thing is, it may not be Preston Nichols. It's the guy who wrote the books.
Oh, Peter Moon.
Peter Moon. That's what.
Oh,
it
yes,
is.
yes.
Sorry. Yeah, Preston Nichols.
He's dead.
I don't know if he's dead. When did he die? It must have been quite recent. He's a very big, very large, fat guy. But he was speaking at a conference only about 2 years ago.
Oh, he's not dead. You're right. He's got cancer.
Well, anyway.
So that was interesting. They were fighting. Do you find that interesting?
Well, I think based on, in order to get warriors to fight, you've got to spar them. You've got to train them. You've got to train them up. And if they're going to be effective warriors in whatever domain they're going to be fighting in, you've got to get two people who know each other, and you've got to get them to fight each other, and you've got to get them to know the skills of war and battle, and how to win, and how to beat each other and keep beating each other and battling and doing that. So you learn how to do that fight when the fight comes to the real, to the real event. And it's abundantly clear that fight is going to be in other dimensions. This is something that, and the term other dimension is a what people think of other dimensions completely different. It's not what we're sort of shown in science fiction, because science fiction has to use 3D imagery and stuff to actually portray an image. Kieran has been told that he is a soldier and he is existing here, but he seems to have multiple clones of himself in other realities who then do this war and fight. So it seems that there's a huge war. Other sources that I'm hearing about the super soldiers. Super soldiers are sort of lining up in two different factions, and Dave Marrow, who is another super soldier, he's part of the team with Casbolt, Matt Todd, all interviewed on previous basis things. People have got to look at my old basis stuff, the stuff that may be 15 years old. There's more information than that, and a lot of the stuff that's you've got to help add all the dots. I've got 4 presentations to deliver in the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to have to start thinking of what I'm going to say. But at the Kerry Cassidy's events at High Elms Manor on the 9th and 10th of July, Saturday and Sunday, I think that's 9th and 10th, could be 8th and 9th. Anyway, High Elms Manor, that's the so-called UFOacademy.org, and it's her. She's doing 2 conferences, The Awake and Aware, and the other one will be in Passing Clouds. Did I mention that in hour 1? So that Passing Clouds is in Hackney, and it's the following weekend, which I think is the 16th and 17th of July.
It's weird, don't you find, Miles, that if you're dealing with people like that, like James Casbott and like Max, sometimes if you piss them off, like I was interviewing someone last week, and they came literally and attacked me afterwards, and it was like really annoying because I was just talking to someone about it. I think I mentioned it to Taj about if you're interviewing people who've got those capabilities, they often come and get you in other ways.
They can do that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're going to do that, and people.
Don't you ever experience anybody coming to get you?
I'm not consciously aware of that, although I did have a very strange dream involving Marie Kayali the other night, which I thought was quite weird.
Happened.
Well, the Marie Kayali is another one of the sort of super soldier people. She's the first person to come forward way back in 2011 with MRI scans. In fact, her material was actually dated 2010, and that could have been used in this TV program, Confessions of an Alien Abductee, but she chose not to, or for some reason she only chose to release that to the producers the day of transmission, to basically, you may have screwed me on air, but this is the evidence that I am real, just to make them feel really bad about what they did. Well, they were told to do that. That was a government order. But
what was the dream about?
Well, it was just a dream where she was involved with a lot of others, and but that's the only thing I can recall.
You've never had like sitting there watching TV and all of a sudden you feel uncomfortable, almost as if there's something invisible coming at you. You've never had that feeling?
Not really, no.
Oh.
See, I'm actually very nasty. So.
How does that help?
Well, I think it might help in regard that if you want to deal with Miles, you're going to lose. But anyway, Christine, so it's your show. We've got a couple of minutes left. The Basis Project 2016 conference is happening August 12th, 13th, and 14th. The Friday is the Target Individuals evening. Doors open about 2 o'clock that afternoon. We'll be having about a 2-hour sort of live show with Karen MacDonald and Paddy Brassard.
Are they coming?
No, they will be on Skype.
Oh, right.
They're doing an awful lot of programs and a lot of shows on Ascension, Ascension, the YouTube channel Ascension.
Oh, right.
And basically, I've done a couple of shows. Dan McBolan was at Area 51. He is allegedly being swapped out on different timelines, and the one we've got in this dimension or this timeline is a clone. Paddy Brassard has been appointed by the Native American tribes. They have appointed him as the go-between with ETs who are going to bring in ships to target New World Order bases and take them out. This is a scorched earth decision that the New World Order bases are going to be taken out. They're going to be torched. This is war, and he showed some evidence of that using sky cameras, these fisheye lens things, of a major series of events, flashes and lights and all sorts of stuff going off at S4 near Area 51. Now, I do not actually believe that happened, but that's what he's saying has happened. And this involved 3 huge craft coming in, which could get through the New World Order weapon systems and delivered a major energetic attack of some kind that S4 Dreamland. Now, if anybody's got any information on that, it would be nice to hear. And then they'll essentially be giving a sort of an up-to-date live thing on the Friday afternoon while people arrive. Maria Wheatley will be having her tour of Stonehenge, those skulls, the new Stonehenge, and Salisbury Plain. That's a private group. Book that with Maria Wheatley directly.
What is the B&B that you've booked me into like? Is it nice or
It's
shit?
impeccable.
What?
Really good, beautiful bed and breakfasts. They're really nice.
Oh, good.
Right.
Am I allowed to wander around and go in and out and just... Yeah.
What do you mean wander around? You're allowed to walk the streets.
No, I meant, am I allowed to come to the Friday and Saturday and Sunday without being asked to put my hand in my pocket?
What do you mean?
I don't have to pay, do I?
No, you don't have to. You're a speaker. You don't have to pay to get in.
Okay, cool.
But if you're saying I have to pay for all your meals, Christine, no.
No, I don't expect you to do that.
The only person that we have to try and get money for is to try and get Gabe Cruz over, because Gabe Cruz is the cell phone engineer in Portland. And as I said at the start of this program, he spent the last 2 or 3 weeks getting attacked by your man Aquino, and he's pretty beaten up about that. He's suggested and said bluntly that Basis has got infiltrators. I've said on my most recent update, of course Basis will have infiltrators. And of course, there will be people there who will be there to listen, monitor, cause trouble, or just sit back and maybe push a button here or push a button there. That was certainly the case at the People's Voice. The People's Voice had infiltrators, and as I said before, the People's Voice had infiltrators on day one when they were doing the recruitment, and I was telling the person recruiting me that they had infiltrators. And then as I looked at this guy called Sean, who was since later outed as one of the key infiltrators, that he in fact was one of the ringleaders.
I hope nobody thinks I'm an infiltrator. And you called Aquino my friend again, second time.
Well, it took even longer for you to pick up on that. Well, this character Aquino was again involved with the Casbolt situation and is a key member and whatever. I mean, this whole thing about the so-called astral and other dimensions is something which needs better described, I think, at some other time.
It's just, I can lecture about that if you want, because I've been studying it since I was 20.
Well, I would like you to talk about the phone hacking scandal, because that was the key reason why Sky TV has gone into terminal decline.
I get really targeted if I talk about that.
Well, maybe you should talk about it and then find out who the targets are and then fire back. Every time somebody, Christine, shoots at you, metaphorically speaking, they're going to leave a trace. So let them come on, bring it on. And then you will know who they are. You can trace back, know who they are, and deliver their weapon system back to them. Give them their gift of pain back to them. Right.
Okay, yeah, I suppose I have progressed since then, so maybe you're right.
That is why, if you are going to fire something, you only fire if you're going to succeed in wiping out the target. Because if you miss or the target survives, a wounded animal is much more dangerous. So you don't shoot unless you are 100% guaranteed of a hit. Well, it looks like that's your phone.
Yeah, no, we're going. That's signifying the end of the show. It was nice to catch up with you, Miles.
Yeah, well, I'm working like heck. I'm also doing my day job at television, and that was good fun at the Goodwood.
Oh, you lucky thing. I know, I was so jealous you went off to Goodwood.
Yeah, it was good fun. Hard work, 5 days. Thank you very much, Christine.
Fantastic adventure. Have a good evening, Miles, and thanks for coming on.
Cheers. Goodbye.
And thanks everybody for listening. And it's Christine J Hart. I'm signing off over here in a very cold London summer's evening. And you guys have a good night. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.